smile upon the crowd. Their music being born of love. Children dance night and day. Religion was being born down in Monterey. The birds and the air.
All right, we're back on the KRXA Morning Show. It's 9:06, February 15th, and we got a great guest, KRXA listener, newly minted activist, Santa Cruzin, Jan Rodak on the Morning Show. Good morning, Jan.
Good morning, Hal.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You contacted me about the Facebook page that you launched with 3 other ladies, Defund the Komen Foundation. Why did you, Amy Houghton, let me give out the names, Chrissy Samia and Haley Briand, decide to create this web page?
Okay, first of all, I want to make it clear that I did not know anything about the Komen Foundation other than the surface elements other people would have known, which is seeing pink ribbons. So my impression of them was very, naturally favorable. And when the story broke, I believe it was January 31st or February 1st, that the Komen Foundation had made a decision to stop funding grants to Planned Parenthood to pay for breast cancer screenings. That became a very hot story right off the bat, and I just happened to be at my Facebook page right then and decided for fun to start a group called Defund the Komen Foundation, like as a kind of a tongue-in-cheek way of, reversing the tide there. And I started seeing the numbers skyrocket quite a bit. And it was actually a group rather than a page, which if you're not familiar with Facebook, you wouldn't know so much. But I had friends say you should really turn this into a fan page, which is easier to monitor. So I did that, and I added my 3 really super smart friends that you have named as administrators and now co-owners. And we sat there and we watched the numbers of followers. And I can only describe it as, that, have you ever seen that national debt clock? Like every second it rises $1 million different dollars.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. A lot of websites
that's what it looked like.
They have a new, I believe at Times Square, they've got that clock going.
Right. It was a little bit like that. Every time I refreshed the page, we had another 10, 15 followers, and we had 10,000 followers by that night, and then within 72 hours, we're up to 19,000 followers.
In response to its tremendous growth of the web page there, the website, facebook.com, Defund the Komen Foundation group, and I know you're also organizing a site, Rethink the Pink, which I like as well. But the Komen Foundation responding to the pressure and the criticism that it received did backtrack its decision a little bit. Did that cause you to reconsider your mission here to defund the Komen Foundation, Jan Rodak?
Absolutely not. In fact, what happened after I started this group, quite accidentally with zero logistical planning, is I discovered all of the thousands of people who were so horrified to find out about the kind of internal workings of the Komen Foundation and how little they divert their funding to actual research and to charity, and how much they use in things like merchandise lines that they, pay vendors to make products for them and sell them. They spend an enormous amount of money on salaries, Hal. I mean, I can get to that later.
Yeah, no, I want you to, because this is not just about the decision not to fund Planned Parenthood. It goes well beyond that. So get into that, please. You're saying that the contributions that people think they give to Komen are going to breast cancer research. You're saying that's not the case necessarily at all.
Correct. They do have to do, they are a 501c3, so they do have to produce an annual 990 IRS filing. And if you can Google that and find it, it's just really a little appalling. I'm not an accountant, and I have not ever had to analyze one of these closely, but it's pretty clear. They spend $50 million in salary. They also spend several $1 million each year in something that has really angered people, and that is they sue smaller charities for copyright infringement because they use the term "the cure." So it it has become more of a branding mechanism for Komen. They want to be the only breast cancer foundation or charity. And so, they just spend an awful lot of money in areas other than what they purport to be spending.
All right, we have got Jan Rodak on, a Santa Cruz activist, newly minted KRXA listener. Defund the Komen Foundation is her cause at this point. Well, do you have some, and we're going to talk about Nancy Brinker, whose sister was Susan G. Komen. We'll talk about her in just a moment. Very interesting profile of Nancy Brinker in today's Washington Post, which you posted at the website. But do you have some, I don't know, qualms about going after a group that was started by a woman, was started on behalf of a woman's sister? Clearly, her heart, at least, it would seem to me, at least from the beginning, was in the right place, and the cause, even if there are some slips between cup and lip, is a good one. So do you have some qualms about going after the Komen Foundation, Jan Rodak?
Well, first of all, I have two parts of my answer to that question. My defund the Komen name was something I thought up on the fly, and technically the way Facebook works is that you cannot change the name of a group after it has 100 members. Well, we passed that within 3 minutes, so I couldn't go back if I wanted to. But I think it's really important to look at the politicization of health care, and that has been really in the center of this Komen story. I do believe she probably started the foundation out of grief and mourning for her sister. But I have a question for you. Why would a woman whose net worth is in the multi-millions and who had a full-time position with the U.S. Department of State as the ambassador of Hungary, which Brinker did at one time, in that year, she filed an expense report for reimbursement from a charity that she had founded in her sister's name, and she asked for $130,000 back.
Well, I can't respond to that. I mean, that's there's a lot of questions about Nancy Brinker, about whether she's used the Komen Foundation truly to fight breast cancer, which took her sister, or whether it's also been a stepping stone for her, a way for her to achieve fame and fortune. Certainly she does move in the top ranks of the Republican Party, including counting among friends Laura Bush. She and her husband are pioneers, or they were pioneers. That is, they raised over $100,000 for the Bush family, and they used she used her cachet as the founder of this organization to do that. I think these are very serious concerns, and I think it's important that we hash them out. And I also would say this, Jan Rodak, that this really calls into question what you were talking about, the politicization of healthcare. Did the rise of Nancy Brinker, in part, was that due to her close association with right-wing movers and shakers?
Well, I can only give you my personal opinion and the opinion of a lot of our followers who, by the way, are just these fabulously articulate and passionate and knowledgeable people, that, yes, that is exactly what happened. They had a leaning towards a political ideology, and while they may not have established this foundation by any means to further that, and I'm not impugning Nancy Brinker's character by saying that she's just had done this in order to get famous and rich, but I think that is what has occurred along the way. And the sad part is that if you will read down our page, and it takes quite a while, but we have testimonials from people who have either survived cancer or they have their loved ones that have not survived cancer, and they are frankly outraged, and they feel betrayed, and they feel angry, and they don't understand why they have been hooked into this. They've been supporting the foundation for years, if not decades. They've been gathering sponsors and going to races. And while this foundation is taking in $350 million a year and paying out legal fees to sue small charities, they're also asking people who run in these races to pay $40 for the privilege of running in a race.
Well, let me ask you this before we only got a couple more minutes left. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate what you've done. I think the rationale behind Defund the Komen Foundation is very solid. But what about, how do you respond to those who say, look, there are problems with every charity. Yes, this woman may be somewhat of a publicizer, but at the same time, she has raised millions and millions of dollars to fight breast cancer. This is a very, very good thing, and we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Well, my response is that no matter how much she has raised, she's only dedicated 17% of it towards research of breast cancer, which is her stated mission. Again, you have to look at her 990 filing to see that. It's between 17 and 20%. Currently, this last year, it's 17%. She's spending most of her money on marketing and on litigation. And there are many, many alternatives that are probably, in our opinion, a better vehicle for funding for the research and cure of breast cancer.
Name those alternatives, please.
Well, we have them on the information tab on our Facebook page. There's the Breast Cancer Action Network. There's all kinds of local charities you can find just by looking in, your information in the white pages. There's the American Cancer Society. Anybody can put you in touch with some really fabulous organizations that are spending a very small amount of their intake on things like lavish salaries. The Komen Foundation has about 20 executives with really creative titles that are paid in the six figures. That normally does not happen within charities. And I would just encourage everyone to look at our information tab on our page, or just ask around and find other places where you can donate to cancer research organizations that really have their eye on the ball.
All right, that's D-Fund if you're on your Facebook search engine, D-Fund, the Komen Foundation. It's a group. And Jan Rodak, obviously doing her homework, very, very informed, very knowledgeable about this. We got to go to a quick break, Jan. If you can stick with me for just a minute or two more, I do want you to talk about Planned Parenthood and why that is an organization we should support. Let's listen to a little Kelly Clarkson as we go into the break.
The bed feels warmer, sleeping here alone. Dream in color, and doing color, and doing color.